Imagine a cozy cafe. Everything's dark oak wood and inviting. It smells of freshly baked cinnamon rolls and freshly brewed coffee. There are books on display and a cat sleeping soundly on the counter. The place is filled with peace and calm, and there are people enjoying their drinks while reading or writing. There are no computers or phones to be seen. It's as if time has stopped and there's nowhere to rush. In another room, there's a group of people engaged in a quiet conversation, making new connections and learning new things. It's a friendly atmosphere of a tight-knit community that welcomes anyone new. The entire space is filled with magic. Magic that comes from books, chocolate, and mysteriously good bakes. But also from friendship, good conversation, and the cats who always keep you company and deliver exactly what you need. Welcome back to the Cat Coach Café. Me and the cat coaches, Aragorn, Apricot, and Prince, are thrilled to see you again. This is a cozy space where we meet once a month to slow down, tune to the season, revive some old seasonal traditions, often influenced by my Czech origins, and meet people from all walks of life who all share one love, the love for cats. In today's episode, we'll talk all about the ways we can make our lives feel more magical, and I can already tell you it is much easier than you think, and how we can have a year of mystical thinking with our today's guest, author Emma Howarth. Your cat coach Prince will invite you to explore this month. And of course, we'll dive into some of the fall traditions too, as February once again offers a chance for feasting. And we'll also talk about the fascinating history of St Valentine's Day, as well as what the year of the fire horse has in store for us, according to the Chinese calendar. So lots of goodness in store for you, as always. But before we get to it, let us fully ease ourselves into the present moment with our short drink meditation. Get cozy, grab that hot drink of yours, and curl up next to your cat. This time is for you. No multitasking needed. Just quiet your mind. And let's start. Grab your mug, cup it with your hands, and close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths while feeling the warmth between your hands. Doesn't it feel so comforting? Take one last deep breath in. Hold it at the top for just a little bit. And then let it go. Exhale. Now bring your mug closer to you and deeply inhale its scent. What does it remind you of? How does it make you feel? Does it bring back any memories or visuals, perhaps? Take another inhale. Inhale the scent. How would you describe the scent? Is it warm, spicy, energizing, mesmerizing, adventurous even? Or would you just name the ingredients? No answer is wrong here. Just go with whatever comes to mind. Now, with your eyes still closed, take your first sip. Is the taste what you expected? Or has it surprised you? And how would you describe the taste? Take another sip to contemplate on this. Take one more sip and notice if the taste brings back some memories, emotions, or perhaps inspires some images in your mind. Notice all the little details without overthinking them. With your next sip, feel the warmth of your drink spread all through your body. How does that make you feel? Now take one final sip by first inhaling deeply the scent of your beverage and then slowly sip. Let the feeling flood you. And then slowly open your eyes and carry on drinking your drink at your own pace. Imbolc and Candlemas are behind us, and that means we are turning to the light again. February is a bridge between winter and spring, darkness and light, cold and warmth. And while the weather can still be harsh, changes are already taking place. And that is true for the natural world, just as it is for yourself. After all, you too are part of nature. So you might start to feel those goals slowly to form. The things you'd like to bring to life this year, the things you'd like to focus on. Maybe they are not clear ideas just yet, but you probably are on your way and starting to have some kind of idea, especially if you gave yourself the space in January to just be and dream. Some of those dreams may be taking clearer shape now. For me, January was like a long winter sleep, as I spent most of it ill, which forced me to rest for the most part of it and do only the absolute necessary. So now I really feel like I only just am waking up from the holidays, in fact, and a bit shocked that they're over as we put away all the Christmas decorations last weekend, just before Candlemas, the time our ancestors would do so as well. So while I feel I have lots of catching up to do, I'm also letting myself go gently and don't stress about the seeming delay on my plans I might have incurred. In a way, if I forget how terrible I actually felt the first 2 weeks of January, it was a dreamy month, which I spent reading books by the Christmas tree, something I would have otherwise never made time for. Talk about every cloud having a silver lining. I think it was exactly the kind of month I needed to become clear on my priorities and the changes I want to make in my life this year. And I really hope your January did the same for you, though hopefully in good health. And if not, if it's not too late at all. I find that February being the shortest month of the year, that alone gives it some special magical quality, as if we needed to savor every day even more, but also as some sort of intermission, as if it wasn't really a serious month like the others, but rather a test month in which we can be and do anything and just try all the things. Maybe that's why there is a tradition of carnivals in fall tradition. So why not make it a month to explore all the things that bring a sense of magic into our lives? Why not explore new things as well as the things we used to love as children and see where they lead us? In fact, research has shown that revisiting our childhood hobbies does wonders for our nervous system because it reminds us of the times life felt safer and when our bodies learned to relax. Our nervous system remembers that and gets triggered to relax if we bring them back. So shall we do that? So if calming your nervous system is one of your priorities this year, this is a great place to start. which as a bonus will also provide you with surge of dopamine from the joy you will feel by revisiting your childhood hobbies. If you want some more inspiration for how to bring back some of those childhood joys back to your life, I highly recommend revisiting our conversation with Fiona Ferris from December, the episode 4 of season 2 of Cat Coach Café, because she gives some great tips for that. We will, of course, get to more ways of exploring our magical lives in just a moment with our today's guest. But let me just suggest another way. As the Winter Olympic Games start today in Milano, Italy, perhaps let yourself be inspired by some of the sports. Perhaps some of them will pique your interest, and you can find a way to try them. And perhaps the determination alone of the athletes, often in harsh winter conditions, will be inspiration enough to go and explore some of your passions you've been hiding away from. Or perhaps let your cat coach Princ inspire you some more. Do you know that feeling when you wake up after days of dark winter to feel the air change? It's somehow more moist cold rather than ice cold, and it doesn't have that crispness anymore, but rather some softness to it, like a newborn kitten. And just like a kitten will be ready to explore in just a couple of days, so will you. It's coming. And that's so very exciting. The changed air holds an invitation to be curious. Yes, I think if curiosity had a smell, that would be it. And actually, maybe it is. Anyway, if you've been with me for some time now, you know that above anything, I am a curious cat who loves to explore. So as soon as the fall comes and there's this sense of newness in the air, holding all kinds of possibilities, it obviously gets me curious. What are those possibilities? I need to explore. And it doesn't matter if it's a new cardboard box that just arrived, or the food that arrived with it, or the old shattered one. I approach them with new curiosity. Perhaps there's something I haven't seen or thought of before. I need to explore. I start going to the balcony again more, which clearly needs some cleaning up to do to prepare for spring. And I always make sure to let my humans know. I mean, with their senses, they might just miss the right timing. I tend to imagine what the balcony will look like in a couple of months and all the things I'll be able to do there once again, and what new things I could try. New spots for naps? Sure. New path on the balcony? Why not? But that is not limited to the balcony itself. Seeing what that thing that's been lying in the corner unnoticed for ages can do? Oh yes, now is the time to find that out. Playing with my favorite mouse from my kittenhood again to see if it's still fun and a good companion? Absolutely. And by the way, she never disappoints. So basically, all I'm trying to say is don't miss the invitation to be curious. Because if you do, you might just miss an opportunity to be happy. You can find more of Cat Coach Diaries from your Cat Coach Princ, as well as your Cat Coaches Aragorn and Apricot, over on my Substack at moneyforce.substack.com or at catcoachdiaries.substack.com. Both links will get you there. And you will also find them in the show notes. Now, let's get to the folk traditions for February. February in Czech folk tradition is a time of carnivals, or as it is called in Czech, masopust, also known in the Eastern European tradition as Maslenica. Some sources state that Fat Thursday is the day that masopust begins, This day was filled with a festive mood from the morning. No one worked, everything was cleaned up, and the kitchen sizzled with lard from frying donuts, cones, bread, and other fried delicacies. However, the main celebrations of Masopus belong to its final 3 days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, with the highlight being most often Tuesday, also known as Shrove Tuesday, and as a pancake day in the UK, when the mask procession took place and the fun peaked. The most typical was the bear mask. The farewell to Masopus was then carried out by burying the bass, a symbol of fun and the fact that musicians would not play for 40 days until Easter, because the period of Lent and therefore the fasting began on Ash Wednesday. This year, these days fall on February 12th for Fat Thursday, Shrove Tuesday is on February 17th, and Ash Wednesday is February 18th. So get those donuts made. There is a recipe on my Substack, Check the Recipe, where Czech is spelled as in the Czech Republic, for traditional Czech donuts, so you can try those yourself. Mix it with the pancake tradition on Shrove Tuesday, as I'm one that never says no to pancakes, and you're in for a delicious few days. Talking of Ash Wednesday, as much as I am not a religious person, I love the idea of rising from the ashes. It goes perfectly with the idea of being reborn during this time of year. After the winter rest, we are slowly getting ready to rise again. No matter what happened in the past year, this is a new start and we can rise from the ashes like Phoenix. So, what are you ready to leave behind? Are you ready to rise from the ashes again? What will that look like for you? I would love to know. Maybe you're ready to let go of sadness, blame, or even feelings of guilt and start living with joy again. Maybe you will become the healthiest version of yourself after some health setbacks. And maybe you will give another chance to one of your dreams. To give you some more inspiration about how we can rise from the ashes, as well as make this month more magical, as we discussed before, I have just the perfect guest for you today. Together with Emma Howarth, the author of A Year of Mystical Thinking, we will take off the pressure of a perfect self-care routine and instead focus on bringing more magic into our lives, which is often much easier than you would have thought. Emma will also share with us some fascinating February predictions based on astrology, and of course, a little bit about her very own cat familia. But first thing first, we started our conversation with answering the most intriguing question, which is what is mystical thinking and why we should all invite more magic into our lives.
Obviously, the title of my book was A Year of Mystical Thinking. And actually, that kind of, I mean, I'm not the first person who ever said the words mystical thinking, but I was inspired by A Year of Magical Thinking, which is a Joan Didion book. And when I was thinking about how I was going to spend this year trying to make my life better by trying lots of different mystical, spiritual practices, that's just a phrase that made loads of sense to me. So I guess magical thinking, mystical thinking, it's a similar sort of thing. It's like exploring the world we can't see, the unknowns, the magic that's all around us. And that was what I kind of wanted to bring into my year, this idea that magic is everywhere if you look for it. And so, yeah, that's what I'd say mystical thinking is. And the best, I mean, it's the best reason to sort of get more mystical thinking into your life is probably to find that magic, because I mean, I know from all the messages I get from people who've read A Year of Mystical Thinking that the biggest sort of take home most people have is, you've made me realize that my life is already magical right where I am. I think the best reason to bring more mystical thinking into your life is definitely this idea that magic is already around all of us. Sometimes we just have to get into the zone, get into the sort of frame of mind where we're actually noticing it.
And intentionally look for it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So when we do that, what would you say are the greatest benefits? Like how it can actually change our lives or make it better?
Um, it's a difficult one to answer in a general way because obviously it will be different for everybody. Um, for me, I think, my entire kind of premise for a year of mystical thinking, and actually it's important to remember that it was never about writing a book in the first place. It was actually, I had this really terrible year in 2017, which people can read all about in the book if they read the book or if they've read the book. And I was really just looking for a way to make myself feel better, to get some magic back in my life. So as far as I'm concerned, it completely changed my life. So in 2018, I dedicated myself to this mystical journey where some things I was doing were like rediscoveries because, I was kind of a teenage tarot reader, and lots of the practices I engaged with in that one sort of mystical year that I did were things I'd already had as part of my life and then let slide. And then lots of things are things I'd never tried before that I was just exploring. And I think in a way, that's the magic of it. Once you start looking for magic, it's almost like a domino effect. Like one minute you're like, there's nothing magical about me, and there's nothing magical about my life, and there's nothing magical about the place I live. And the next thing you know, you've maybe gone to a yoga class, or you've read a book, or it's like a knock-on effect. Like your
Hmm.
eyes get opened, and then the next thing you know, I don't know, almost like your algorithm changes on social media, but your algorithm changes in life, and suddenly you find yourself meeting people who are connected to the magical, mystical world in some way. And the next thing you know, the world opens up to you, and suddenly it's everywhere, and you're finding things you really enjoy and practices you love. And I think that's what can really make the difference in your life. It can open your mind to other possibilities. But even in the most simple, singular way, this doesn't have to all be about how you kind of connect with other people, although I think that's one of the most amazing magical things about exploring the mystical world. And on just a really personal level, if you just become the kind of person who notices moon cycles, or checks the astrology of the day, or stirs intentions into their tea in the morning, you make your life feel more magical and more intentional and slower. And I think that's how it can change your life if you choose to let it in. That's the joy of it. It's all optional. It's what works for you. You might be a put a crystal in your bag person. You might be a, do a join a coven person. you can do it your own way.
In any case, it basically makes you more present to life, I feel.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Makes you more present, makes you notice things. A rainbow is a rainbow until a rainbow is beautiful. I don't think you'd have to be quite a cold-hearted person to not see a rainbow and go, oh, a rainbow. But then you make a rainbow your kind of personal sign from the universe, and suddenly that rainbow is appearing not just in the sky, but on a book, on a mug someone passes you, on a child's t-shirt as you walk past, and suddenly that rainbow has more meaning, and you're using that as a magical reference point to help you understand that you're on the right path in life. Or
Mm.
you can just turn so many things into magical experiences if
Yeah.
it resonates with you. I feel like that's the most important thing to say, because sometimes when people talk about this stuff, and especially someone like me who can get quite into it and quite excited about it, it can sound a bit overwhelming. Like, what do you mean I have to notice rainbows everywhere? But it doesn't have to be that. It can be really simple and peaceful and straightforward. It can be whatever it needs to be for the individual.
It really seems to me that we don't even have to lay into mystical thinking or magical thinking, but literally, even when we just open our minds to exploring life generally, that's where that's where magic lies.
Yeah, I think so. It's like kind of following your curiosity. I think that's a
Yeah.
really magical place to put yourself in a world where you allow yourself to follow your curiosity. And another thing I do quite often, I run kind of an annual sort of January coven where
Mm.
I sort of gather a group together online and we spend a month doing all sorts of magical meetups. And one thing I've done in those kind of groups quite often is really encourage people, and this isn't even necessarily a mystical thing, like really encourage people to like think about what they actually enjoy doing in life,
Mhm.
like what actually brings them joy, what brings you pleasure, and that can be anything. It can literally be watching a series on Netflix. I mean, it's being honest, isn't it? Writing it all
Yeah.
down. What do I really love? What do I really enjoy? Is it seeing friends? Is it afternoon naps? Is it going to a spa? What app do I actually
Mm.
really enjoy? And then thinking about like, well, when was the last time you did any of those things on that list? And sometimes just little things like that, like just giving yourself permission. Like if what you really love is reading like fantasy novels and you haven't read one for a year, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I love
yeah,
this take on magical living or inviting magic into our lives because it can really be all kinds of things. Yeah,
yeah,
doesn't have to
absolutely.
be anything that some people may find some of the mystical rituals, let's say, a little it might make them a little uncomfortable thinking about it even or doing it, but actually magical thinking as such is really so easy. It's just like you said, it's just do what you enjoy. And that's
Yeah,
where magic lies. That's the
yeah.
magic of life.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think, you know, we're all here on this giant moving rock. Like, and there's all sorts of wonderful things we can explore and, an infinite number of books and endless music and countless beautiful landscapes and that's all there. It's just like, what do we choose to spend the time we have on? I mean, obviously, my take on mystical thinking is very practical. I know like a lot of us have got like jobs and children and things that are taking up our time, but in the time we do have, how can we make it more magical? And I would go as far as to say to, an exhausted, really busy mother of young children, for example, who might be listening to this, you can even take this sort of exploration of magic or mystical thinking into sleep, like literally, like it could just be, do you think about what you dreamt about last night? Or do you sometimes, before you go to bed, like think, I really want to dream the answer to this question I've got. And sometimes you'll do that and you'll find you do dream the answer to the question once you start that practice.
It's really interesting. Yeah. Talking of the landscape around us, I find another very magical thing that we can invite into our lives is living in tune with the seasons and the old seasonal celebrations, but just marking the seasons and being attuned uh, to the natural cycles. And there is a connection between mystical thinking and living and seasonality, isn't there?
Yes, yes, absolutely, definitely. I think yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the biggest, not that, I mean, obviously I already appreciated the seasons, but I think I came to appreciate the seasons more during that mystical year and started to really like notice the kind of those wheel of the year touch points in the year. So the equinoxes, the solstice, um, and find a lot of magic in that. And then, yeah, a lot of seasonal magic, I think, in the kind of, some people think they're not mystically minded or they're not kind of spiritual or they're not living in that way, but actually sort of rituals and magic are part of our lives anyway. So if you think of how many different rituals there are, you know, at Christmas or around Halloween or spring, Easter, all these kind of things, there are so many rituals. And I think seasonal living is definitely a really good way to seek magic, noticing the changing of the seasons, noticing the change in light when it starts to get dark earlier, and then you add on to that the astrological seasons that happen every month, the changes in the moon cycle. I mean, there's so much there, just in like, are you noticing the first snowdrop when it appears? Are you noticing the leaves change color? Are you gathering foraging branches and turning them into a wreath for your door, in December? There's a lot of magic to be found in just connecting with the seasons. And I think on a really, if you're lucky enough to live somewhere where there are distinct seasons, obviously that's not everybody, but I think there's plenty of scope just in that, on that alone. If all you take from listening to this podcast, this conversation, is I'm going to connect with the seasons more, then that would be fabulous. February is definitely a month to slow down and try to appreciate what's in front of you. And that kind of 1st of February in bulk moment where you have that sort of celebration is a perfect touch point, really, isn't it? January's over, you might just about be ready to
Rebirth.
Look towards spring. For some people, that's a really good point to start calling your new year. Like, not everyone's ready in January to be like, it's new year.
That's me.
A lot of people wait till the 1st of February. A lot of people wait till the spring equinox to really, truly feel like the year's begun.
One of your topics of your book, one of the practices you explore there, which is meditation, and the chapter that is, I'm not sure now if it's called that way or if this is the subtitle of the chapter, but don't hate, meditate. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say
that's a good phrase? Don't hate, meditate.
I love it. Would you say that meditation is one of your favorite practices, or what are your favorite practices?
Favorite practices. I get asked this question all the time, so I'm quite good at this one now. What I always say is my favorite practice from a year of mystical thinking is understanding moon cycles. And the reason why I say it, I will go back to meditation, is because the moon is there, it's available, it's free. It's like above all of us, like we all get the same moon. And I think when you understand the cycle of the moon, it really teaches you something about not having to be full and glowing and shining and beaming all the time. It teaches you that, that light wanes, and then there's the new moon, and that is like a time of renewal and intention setting. And then you have the waxing phase of the moon, which is like when the illumination is growing, and that is all about kind of taking action and making progress with intentions or goals. You have the full moon, which is all like magic and manifestation, and then that waning cycle happens again, which is maybe a bit more reflective and a bit more introspective and a bit more thinking about how you might want to do things differently. And I love the idea of that cycle, and I love that that's happening every month. And I love that the fact that there's a new moon every month is basically like a mini new year every month, because I never really connected with this idea of like, it's January, like it's cold, it's dark, it's miserable, like set your resolutions, you're going to be perfect. And like, most people have like quit half their resolutions by the end of January, but actually this idea that you get an opportunity for a fresh start every single month is really magical to me. And I think that is the thing that whenever I'm asked this question, I'm always like, that's the one practice that makes the most sense to me, that I connect with every month, that is easy, it's free, you don't have to do anything. Like, you can do an elaborate moon ritual if you want to, but you can just as easily, and I say this to people I work with all the time, like, if all you do on the new moon is just like whisper a wish at the sky, that's okay, that's enough. Like, you can do that. So that's what I'd say. Meditation obviously is one of the most sort of life-changing practices that is available to us as humans. But I completely understand that for a lot of people, it feels really difficult and really uncomfortable. And I know that people, I would encourage people to try meditation, to see if they can find a type of meditation that works for them, whether that's, downloading one of the apps that's available and using the free resources on there, whether that's looking for guided, really long, dreamy, magical guided meditations on YouTube, whether it's just learning a few breathing exercises and implementing them on your own, however, whether it's going to a meditation class. Like, I would really encourage people to explore meditation because it is really powerful. But I do really understand that some people they just don't get it, and I'm kind of okay. I'm not going to sort of sit around preaching and going, you must all love meditation, because I love meditation.
I think a great way to meditate, which is something that I was introduced through your book as well, is our sound bath, because that is a meditation, right? But it's so easy. Anybody can do that one, because you just lose yourself in the sounds. And I find it so incredibly refreshing, like much more than any kind of meditation. It's really magical to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with that. It's like an in-person sound bath is like
I
nothing
haven't
else.
tried that one yet. It was my goal for this year, but I failed. But I did try some online at least, but
Yeah,
next
I
year.
think the online ones can also be really amazing. But yeah, I definitely try an in-person one. I think there's something really totally magical about that. And other things like a yoga nidra practice, which is like a type of yoga that's it's like kind of almost like sleep yoga. That is amazing. If you find a yoga nidra online and you try that practice, you can like lie down for 20 minutes and follow what it's telling you to do. And when you've finished, you feel like you've been like asleep for 2 hours. It's like, so all these practices are really, there's so much magical potential, but not everything is right for everyone. Not, some people just find it so uncomfortable to sit, in meditation. And which is why all these other potential options are good, like the guided ones and the sound baths, the yoga nidras, all of those. I would just encourage people to explore, to try it, because if you're lying awake at night and you can't get to sleep, why not pop your headphones in and listen to something and see what happens?
Yeah. There's never a sleep like after meditation, I have to say, even though I myself am really bad at making meditation a regular part of my life. I always have to get to the point where I'm like so overwhelmed that I return to it, and then I am angry with myself that I abandoned it in the first place.
Well, do
But
you know what? I'm probably similar in that sense. Like, I cannot hand on heart say that I meditate every single day. Like, that's not where I am with my kind of spiritual, mystical practices. But I do use meditation as a practice very regularly. It's just I can't say like, oh yeah, I'm 20 minutes a day in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, like a lot of people who really, really meditate.
yeah.
And I sort of aspire to it, but I'm not there yet.
Me too. I sort of aspire to make it a daily part of my life, but I know how good it is for me, but somehow it's just not
Yeah.
happening.
You know
But
what they
yeah.
say though, the less time you have for meditation, the more you need to meditate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Which
And
is so annoying,
yeah,
but true, probably.
but it's the same with even yoga or exercising, right? It's like you feel like you don't have time for that or you don't have energy for that, but it's actually that's why you don't have energy and you don't have time because you don't make time for the
Yeah.
yoga or the exercising.
Yes,
So,
definitely. I think that is so true of so many things. But then I do also think there is a point where, you can take your stacking of practices too far. I don't know if you've seen a lot of these kind of like my morning routine kind of videos on social media where someone is like, I get up at 5, and then they go through a list of things that they do every morning, and you're literally like, you are either lying or someone else is doing all the other stuff in your house, or you don't have children, or you don't have a job. Your job is to create this content. I don't know. Sometimes I think, yeah, some people can take it too far. We
Yeah.
can't all get up every day and meditate and do a full skincare routine and do a yoga and exercise and go on a walk and journal. Like, we don't, that's not practical for most people. But yeah, definitely we we need to find the practices that give us the most benefit.
Yeah, I have to say for me, it's usually one of the practices each day. Like when I do
Exactly.
yoga, for example, for me, it's a sort of a meditation as well, doing
Yeah,
yoga.
definitely.
So yeah, and then it's either journaling or meditation, or it's sometimes it's meditation and journaling, but yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like when I that's what I meant about your book, that it's so down to earth, that you're not pretending you're perfect at it all, that you're doing it all. Because yeah, sometimes when you pick up these books from acclaimed authors, you can get a feeling that you're a failure a little bit because
Yeah.
you don't have that, you just don't manage to do that every day.
And
And
also, I don't believe them. Like,
yeah,
I
well,
don't know if that's an awful thing to say, but I just don't believe them a lot of the time. I'm like, I don't believe that that's what you do every day.
yeah,
Like I want it proven to me. Like, unless you literally, I mean, I guess probably some of these sort of male kind of gurus might just have, I don't know, a wife who's doing everything, which is why they get to spend 2 hours doing their like spiritual practices. But for most people, life is not like that.
yeah. Or it's even with like all these productivity gurus. Like I was at one point, I was really into reading like business books and business courses, and they all make you do the same things every day. Like there's this plan for the day, you have to do this and then that and then that. Otherwise, you're basically failing at your day. And after some time, I just got to the point where I'm like, I'm just not this person. I just,
Yeah.
I, even if I do love creating rituals for myself and some sort of routines, because especially when I get a little of the way, then it brings me back. But I also found out that essentially I hate routine. So I have to, what works for me one week or one month doesn't work for me another month anymore because I'm bored by it. So for me, it's like constantly changing and being attuned to myself, which
Mm.
is again what all these practices we discussed together so far is actually helping you to be attuned to yourself and find those things that will then
Yeah.
work for you in
And
any
also,
given
there's not,
moment.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this idea that you might be really into yoga right now, and then
Yeah.
like next month you might be really into journaling, or from one day to the next. Like, this idea that you have to stick at something and do
Mhm.
it every day for it to be valuable
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just like, why can't we just, obviously some element of consistency can be really helpful for
Yes.
certain people in certain situations and certain practices if you want to get the most out of them. But I don't feel like, because if you haven't done yoga, if you haven't practiced yoga every other day for a month, that doesn't mean that you can't do it in 2 months' time once, just because that's what you need that day. Like,
Yeah.
we have to stop having so many rules for ourselves. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yes.
yeah,
That's so true. Yeah.
yeah, take what you need, from the resources that you have, from your toolbox, your mystical toolbox. Take what you need.
Yeah. So we've talked about the magic of the moon, but what about the sun and sun signs? How can we benefit from knowing more about that?
Yeah, your sun sign is like your core. It's like the core of who you are. And I think by sort of exploring what that means, whether you're a Pisces or a Taurus, can help you sort of understand yourself. And it can also help you understand other people by understanding sort of their astrological core of who they are, their kind of sort of what they're sort of put here on earth to do or be. And then if you combine that with also understanding what your rising sign is, which is The kind of the side of yourself that you show in public more, like your sort of public facing self, the part of you that you reveal to the world more, and your moon sign, which is your inner self, or what you need to feel safe and secure in the world, your sort of emotional self. That can kind of, it can reveal quite a lot and help you understand yourself better and help you be kinder to yourself and help you understand parts of yourself that maybe you might not have understood until you see that kind of, oh, I'm a Taurus moon. That means I'll never feel truly safe and secure unless I've kind of got like a really stable base, or, I need to like feel really secure and stable in my finances, or, you find out things about yourself that you have no previous connection to at all by looking into astrology. And then I think the more if you understand astrology even a little bit, if you understand that you are it, particularly understanding what your rising sign is can make a big difference, because horoscopes are kind of like, they're written for sun signs, but they're also kind of written for rising signs. So if you read your horoscope for your sun sign and your rising sign, you'll often find that the rising sign reading makes more sense for what's actually going on in your life. So I think knowing those two things can then mean that you can understand what each astrological season, so when it's Sagittarius season or when it's Capricorn season, you can understand what that means for you in reference to what part of your birth chart is being focused on, if that makes sense. So I think it sounds complicated, but it isn't really. There's a whole sort of world of understanding that, if you're a Pisces rising and it's Pisces season, that means, your first house is being illuminated and you're probably about to set some personal goals for yourself, or go through some personal changes, or change your image. And understanding all those things can be a really magical way of moving through a year, I think.
Yeah, I have to say that was something I was really fascinated by when I read your book as well. And I went immediately to all these online tools that offered me to find the moon sign, the rising sign, and all these things. And first of all, I thought like sun sign is just not the full story, basically. We're just presented a piece of something. Just like when we do yoga, just the exercises, we're missing the spiritual part, which is a massive part of it, even bigger. So that was one thing. The second thing was that as you said, I understood myself better in a way that, things that I used to basically ask myself, like, why am I this way? And feel bad about certain things. Like, why is this difficult for me? Or why am I like that? It suddenly made sense. So I would really encourage everybody to look into this, because it can bring so much peace actually into your life. Understanding why you are a certain way, because it's really astonishing. It can be astonishingly accurate, I have to say, if you're open-minded enough.
I mean, I would say, as an example, like my husband is a doctor, and he also did like a master's degree in physics. Like a lot of his friends are real hardcore scientists, and they don't naturally believe in this stuff. But I've even sat around tables with, big groups of super sciencey people, and like gone, okay, well, just let me look up your big three for you. And like people's minds have been blown, their wives have been sat next to them going, oh my God, now it all makes sense. And they've themselves been like, yeah, it does make sense. This is me. What you were describing is me, whether sometimes they don't want to admit it. But yeah, and then it can be really powerful, because then you're being a bit more forgiving. Well, of course they're going to always want an audience. They're a Leo, rising. It's not their fault.
Yeah. Or like Geminis. Yeah. And then another thing is when you mentioned the houses that we have, and all these things that is a part that sounds very complicated to me, I have to say. I read a really, really fun book, a Japanese book, cat themed, The Full Moon Coffee Shop, that was basically structured around the houses and astrology and all of that. And
I got sent that book and I haven't read it yet. Would you recommend?
so yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know anything about this. So for
Yeah.
you, it might be too obvious, maybe, but it's literally there's stories of characters that are then being explained their lives in a way based on their birth charts. And even in that book, I got really intrigued by that, but I find it so difficult. So I wondered, would you have any tips on where to start or what resources to look into if somebody wants to start understanding this?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could had a way of explaining how it's just not quite as complicated as it seems. Like, obviously, becoming an astrologer and fully understanding astrology in depth is really complicated. That's like, a long process of learning exactly how it all works. And I couldn't even really claim to fully be there yet. Like, there's so much about astrology that I don't fully understand, that I haven't spent enough time studying. A simple way, I mean, I did have this book called The Astrology Almanac, which was the perfect way to understand a year of astrology, but that isn't being published for 2026. What resources would I really say would be good? I mean, there's all sorts of good sort of beginners books out there. I wonder if actually the best way to understand it is just to understand your own birth chart, maybe. Like, there's a great book by Carolyn Faulkner, who's a really brilliant astrologer, called The Signs. And I feel like that is quite a good way of understanding your birth chart. Like, she lays it out really quite simply. So maybe that would be a recommendation. I mean, I have recommended that to people before and they found it really useful. Obviously, my book has a whole chapter on astrology that does explain it all really. I mean, I spent a long time making that explanation make sense for a beginner. So try A Year of Mystical Thinking. And I think just once you understand the basics, it's not as complicated as it seems. So once you know what your rising sign is, you can read your horoscope in a different way. And then I mean, that might be enough for some people as well.
Yeah.
Like, just to know that as the sun moves through the different signs, it moves through different houses depending on, your birth chart. So yeah, and it does work in the same order. Once you understand it, it makes sense. It progresses in the same way each year. So yeah.
Talking of astrology and horoscopes, would you have any predictions for us for what 2026 will be like? What to expect?
So not really predictions for the whole of 2026. On the 17th of February 2026, there is a new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius. And that is the first eclipse in a new cycle of eclipses. So when you understand a little bit about eclipses, you understand that they happen on a certain axis, and that will illuminate two areas of each of our charts. And it's kind of like the beginning of a sort of exciting period for two specific areas of your chart, and it's usually lasts like 18 months to 2 years. And when there's a new cycle, that's two new areas of your chart. So it's Aquarius, and then it matches up with Leo on the other side. So for Aquarians and Leos, it will be a very big deal. But for the rest of us, that sort of 17th of February 2026 will be the beginning of a new cycle for all of us. So I feel like that's something to look forward to, and to understand where that is in your particular chart as well. That's quite exciting for definite. 17th of February 2026 will be a big shift for everybody who's listening, and a shift into a new era of your life, a new focus of your life. So that might mean you're shifting into a world where you're kind of exploring. Okay, so on a really general level, Aquarius is like independence and free spiritedness and like this idea of like doing what's right for the greater good and community spirit and innovation. And Leo is more like self-expression and public recognition, fame, like creativity, doing what's fun, whereas Aquarius can be a bit more like doing what's right sometimes. So maybe on a general level, those are the themes that this series of eclipses that begins in the middle of February next year, February 2026, will bring up, will be this idea of balancing the difference between doing what's right and doing what's right for the greater good and doing what's right for ourselves. Don't know, that could be a big global theme.
It sounds really exciting, actually. One more tool that I would like to touch upon is something that a lot of, again, a lot of people might be intimidated by and skeptical about, which was me as well, are oracle cards or tarot cards. So would you tell us a little bit about how we can use them and why we should not be afraid of them? And just a good news for everybody who's listening, there are cat oracle cards out there. So that's one reason to become friends with oracle cards.
Okay, so tarot cards for me, that was probably my like first mystical love. I mean, I got some tarot cards for my 14th birthday from my friends and started reading them and instantly just fell in love with this idea of like these cards that kind of felt really exciting and magical. And it was a kind of really useful guidance tool. I found like as a sort of teenager, having a conversation with your friends about whether they should dump their annoying boyfriend or whatever was a lot easier to have with the cards, because you could be like, it's not me, it's the cards. Whereas actually saying it yourself would be a bit too confronting. And I think that's the power of tarot is it really calls you out. Like, you ask a question and it's like, no, what are you doing? So I love tarot cards. I don't fully understand where this thing comes from, but I have friends who are like, no, I won't touch them. I won't touch them. Like they're too dangerous. As though perhaps, you're somehow going to connect to some like evil spirit that's going to kind of come down to earth and swallow you. I mean, I don't quite understand it. I think some people think it's kind of connecting with the devil or something. I don't know. Basically, I would just open your mind to the possibility that tarot cards are a really useful tool. Again, it's another thing that I think some people, it can feel like a really overwhelming, difficult thing to learn to do. And again, I would say my book explains how it doesn't have to be that complicated, how it can just be an intuitive thing. You can learn the numerology of it. That can help you to understand it. But also for someone who's really interested in cards, and maybe if tarot does feel a bit intimidating, not because it's evil and scary, because it really isn't. They're just cards. It's just another guidance tool. But try oracle cards, because oracle cards are just like the easy, simple, straightforward version of tarot. Like often the meaning of the card is written on the card with oracle cards, and there are less of them, and it can just be a lot more straightforward for people to understand how to use oracle cards, and then maybe you use that as your gateway into tarot. So there are so many oracle decks I love. I mean, my publishers, Hay House, published some brilliant ones. Yasmin Boland, all of her moon manifestation decks, I think they're amazing, and that's another really good way to understand astrology, through a sort of astrological moon based kind of oracle deck. I would really recommend those. Some people really love Rebecca Campbell's cards. Like she has a deck called the Work Your Light Oracle, which is really magical. And my friend Ari Weisner, he has some fabulous decks. He's got a new one out called Find Your Own Way Oracle. I mean, I love that. And also Sharon Blackie, she's published some amazing decks through Hay House. And I actually have I don't know if I have it here, but just been sent one by them, which is like a fairy tale oracle, all
Mm,
about the power of like, folk stories and fairy
mm.
tales, understanding our path through the world through them. I mean, I haven't fully looked into it yet, but like just having that as a list, like there are so many different types of oracle cards out there, and I think that's such an easy way to tap into magic. Just order a deck of oracle cards. It will cost you probably £15, and then just shuffle that deck and pull one every day and see what your intuition tells you it means, or read about it in the book. Like there's no shame in reading about it in the book, and use that as a little gateway to guide your day. I mean, a gateway to magic. That's, yeah, perfect. I love things like that. I think it's a really easy way to tap into magic without spending loads of money. You can do it yourself. You can have a tarot reading from someone like me, or another tarot reader. That's fantastic. That's a really lovely way to spend some time kind of getting to know what's going on for you, getting some guidance from the cards, like real magical insights. But you can do it yourself too, for free.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have to say I started playing with oracle
Mm.
cards after reading your book. And as I said, I was skeptical towards cards, like, all these predictions and things. I was like, yeah, right. But I was really surprised when I started it and read in the book the explanations, because I'm still a beginner, how on point, how
Mm.
scarily on point the cards were. So ever since then, I'm really hooked. And I have, because I'm someone who really loves living seasonally, I really got into the Seasons of the Witch oracle cards, which are
Oh, they're
so
lovely. Yeah.
beautiful. And yeah, I have an eye on a cat oracle card deck as well, because
Mm.
yeah. So for anybody who's listening, I would say if you're scared of oracle cards, become a friend with oracle cards through the cat oracle cards deck, because that's the
Yeah,
easiest way.
definitely. There's so much magical potential there, and it's such an easy thing. Like such a nice gift as well. Like
Mhm.
I quite often give people oracle card decks, and then they can't help themselves but have a little go,
Exactly.
and it is a really useful way, like if you're kind of struggling with something, like am I making the right decision, what should I what what do I need to know right now, what's going on for me, like you can ask a question, lay three cards out, read what the meaning is, make your own interpretation, and that guidance can just be really helpful sometimes, like
Yeah,
just really kind of take you in a new direction.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mentioning cats, would you tell us something about cats in mysticism and cats as magical creatures? Would you have any insight into that?
I mean, I don't know that I have a huge amount of insight into cats in mysticism. I mean, cats were revered in ancient Egypt, weren't they? I'm sure there's a lot of magic and mysticism in that. I mean, I obviously think of my cat as my familiar, which, if you're a witch, you have a familiar. Um, yeah, I think cats are magical creatures. I mean, for all the kind of reasons that cats are also really annoying, probably. They're very much, they're like their own creatures, aren't they? They're like off exploring the world, doing what they want to do. You can't really make a cat obey you. A cat chooses you. There's some magic in that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of magic in cats.
I think
What do
that's,
you?
yeah, well, definitely. And I think what you
Yeah.
said, that they're incredibly annoying, that they do whatever they want. It's like maybe that's what we find annoying about that, is that they are sort of what we want to be, what we strive to be, but are failing it because we can't put
Yeah.
ourselves first like they do, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Also, cats are like, I mean, when I think about my cat, who currently spends most of his time asleep, I mean, cats are real dreamers, aren't they? They're not sort of worrying about whether they've ticked off enough life goals.
Yes.
Just lying there in a patch of sun or on like near a warm radiator, just being cats. Like we can definitely all learn something. I mean, I'd quite like to, if reincarnation is a thing, I'd quite like to come back as a pampered domestic cat. That would be
Yes.
nice.
I mean, I think their goal basically is enjoying life, which they're very good
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, they don't seem to have, go outside and well, like catch moving objects. That's it, isn't it? It's like catch a moving object, maybe jump on some high surfaces, fall asleep for a bit, eat some food, meow because they don't want the food that you've given them.
But yeah, it just takes me back to the beginning when we said that magical living really is about enjoying or doing more of the
Yeah,
things we enjoy. That maybe that's why cats are so full of magic because that's what they do. That's all they do, basically. They do what they enjoy.
yeah. I mean, I guess there's a reason why witches in storybooks have cats. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, because also I suppose if you can sort of tame a cat, then that's quite powerful of you. Like if you I'm training my cat at the moment. Do you see the Time magazine cover where Taylor Swift had her cat around her neck?
I did not actually.
So yeah, there's a photo of her on the front of Time magazine. You have to look it up after this. And one of her cats is around her neck like a scarf. Okay, I've basically trained my cat to go around my neck like a
Wow.
scarf in the same way. But I'm yet to, get a photo of myself, my cat on the front of a magazine. But we're
Yeah,
ready when the time
that's
comes.
good. That's good. That's good. I hope everybody, somebody from Times Magazine is listening
Yeah, I mean,
because
yeah, it's my turn.
obviously, exactly.
But I think it's sort of maybe that's another reason why cats are so sort of because it's quite difficult to get a cat to do anything you want it to do. But actually, maybe there is some sort of magic in finding a way to persuade your cat to lie around your neck like a scarf.
Yeah, talking of magical stories, would you have any book recommendations for our listeners for some magical reading? Doesn't have to be nonfiction, can be fiction, anything that you like to turn to, for
Um,
example.
yeah, I mean, so many. I've got so many recommendations, far too many for one conversation. But so one book I would recommend is Catherine May's Wintering. I think that's such a great book to read in winter, which is a book all about the power of rest and retreat in turbulent times. And then the book I'm reading at the moment is I actually don't know how to pronounce this person's surname though, which is annoying. But the book is called Cacophony of Bone, and I just started reading it, but I have no idea. It's Kerry Nee. I'm going to say Doherty is possibly how you pronounce her surname, but the book's Cacophony of Bone, and this is like it's like wintering, but it's not really like wintering. It's like a book that takes you through a year. I love books that
Mhm.
take you through a year.
Yeah,
It's
me
like
too.
narrative nonfiction, but so I'd say it's a bit like my book, but it's way more poetic, way more
Mm.
lyrical. Like I'm not saying it's like it's like it's down to earth, but it's really magical. Like the way she writes is like
Ooh,
nothing I've read before. So I'd recommend that.
that sounds like a book for
It
me.
was longlisted for the Wainwright Prize. Let me see what else I can read you on the back. Basically, it's like Kerry and her partner moved to a small remote railway cottage in the heart of Ireland. Um, and then what followed is a year like unlike any other, and it does kind of go through the pandemic, but not in a boring way that you want to relive. Like it's in a really magical way, like the circle of a year. It's really
Mhm.
amazing. I've been going to bed every night, really excited to read it. So that and Wintering,
Mhm.
two books very much about seasons. I think are very
Yeah,
magical.
yeah, same. Um, what are some of your favorite ways to slow down? Like, obviously, it will be, I imagine, one of your rituals connected to your mystical living. But what comes to mind when I say, what is your favorite way to slow down?
Ways to slow down. I mean, I obviously a predictable answer would be like I think yoga is a great way to. I'm very committed to my Monday night yoga. Every single Monday I go to a yoga class, and that's like written in stone for me now. But without actually leaving the house, I'd say my favorite ways to slow down are long baths
Mm.
are a big thing for me. I think it's because I'm a Pisces. So I can spend a lot of time lying in a bath, just daydreaming and reading books or magazines, just where it's so happy in there. I don't actually find it that hard to slow down. Like I think I would quite easily live a much slower life if I
Mhm.
didn't have things that I had to do.
Yeah.
I'm really into an afternoon nap. I think that can be a great thing. It's a great way to slow down. I love a cup of tea. I like to take a bit of time over that. I mean, I love like a walking in nature. Like all of these things are great ways to slow down that really are easy to do yourself, basically.
Mm. Maybe
Yeah.
in some way your cat inspires you to slow down. For me, definitely my cats always do.
Uh,
I have to
yes.
say.
I mean, my cat's is annoying me quite a lot at the moment because he's slowed down a lot, and I'm literally
Mm.
like, just go out. Like, what are you
Oh.
doing? Or he used to be a massive adventurer, and now he's like permanently asleep in a way that is starting to annoy me because I'm like a bit jealous.
How old is he?
No, 5. He's
Five.
not like become an old man. He's just like, I think he's just like realized like I don't have to go out in the rain, so I just won't. Whereas when he was a
Mm.
younger cat, he was like, I've got to go out, I've got to explore things, I've got to do things. He'd just come in wet and muddy all the time. Um, and I kind of liked that about his personality. I was like quite proud of him. I was like, you're such an adventurer. You just go out no matter what the weather. And I think he's just finally clocked that actually he can save his adventuring for summer and just
Yeah, I think my cats are 13 years old now, and I think I don't remember exactly. It might have been around fifth year though that they really do slow down a little bit. Like
oh really?
over the years with them, you can really tell how it's so interesting how you really see how they're changing throughout their lives as well.
Yeah.
Really
Oh, that is
interesting.
interesting because I thought
Mm.
5 was probably a bit too young for him to be
I
slowing
I
down.
would say obviously not like slowing down too much, like he's not a senior cat yet, but they
Yeah.
do become like they're not as crazy basically anymore
Yeah.
around that
I mean, I'm happy
time.
for him to not be as crazy, but I am a bit like, you need to get out more,
Hmm.
spending a lot of time on this sofa.
Well, it's also winter now, so
Yeah. I
winter
mean,
soon.
I do get it. I get it.
Talking of stories, what about some magical movies? Do you have any movies that you turn to for magic?
Magical movies. I mean, there are so many magical movies. I mean, I'm probably going to go straight for recommending actual magical movies about magic. Practical Magic, it's a classic.
Yeah.
And Practical Magic 2 is coming, which is so exciting. So that's a definite favorite of mine. And which I watched the original version of The Craft with my daughter on Halloween. I think The Craft and the newer version of The Craft are both brilliant. I love those. Yeah, those are my recommendations for movies.
Where can people find you and how can they work with you if they decide they would love to explore anything we talked about with you directly?
Well, the best way to find me is probably on Instagram, although I'm not the greatest Instagrammer at the moment. I'm slowed down a bit, but yeah, find me at Emma Howarth Writes on Instagram. I'm always up for a little DM chat, so feel free to DM me. I'm pretty good at paying attention to that. And I've got a website, emmahowarth.com. I have a Substack, which I'm not really currently writing much on, but I will be upping my game on that soon. I do tarot readings, not that often, but I, release a few each month. So if people want to have a tarot reading with me, they can.
full origins of St. Valentine's Day can be traced all the way back to Rome, to the reign of Claudius II. The legend says he forbade soldiers from getting engaged or married, fearing that they would then not go to war and stay home with their wives and families instead. However, the priest Valentine defied the ruler and secretly married young couples. As is often the case with legends about saints, he was later arrested for his actions and executed, and it is said that it happened on February 14. Later, St. Valentine's Day probably merged with the pagan holiday of Lupercalia, which was celebrated in the middle of February in ancient Rome. On the eve of this day, slips of paper with the names of girls were placed in a love urn. Each young man then drew a slip of paper, and the girl whose name he drew was supposed to become his sweetheart in the following year. In Rome, the goddess Juno, considered the protector of partnerships in marriage and the protector of families as well, was also to be celebrated on February 14th. For this reason, women in the family were given flowers. In the Czech lands, we celebrate Valentine at least since the reign of Charles IV. For the first time, February 14th and Valentine's Day were associated with love in the 14th century, thanks to the English poet Geoffrey Chaucer. His poem, The Parliament of Fools, which he composed as a tribute to the engagement of the English King Richard II with Princess Anne of Bohemia, daughter of Charles IV, features a gathering of birds on St. Valentine's Day to choose their mates. This is the first written evidence of the connection of romantic themes with the cult of St. Valentine, who appears in the poem as the patron saint of pure and devoted love. Despite the marriage between King Richard and the Czech princess being political, it is said that true love emerged between them. But it's still without a doubt that Chaucer's poem was the one that popularized the holiday. According to historians, there truly seems to be a connection to February 14th with the holiday of lovers and the awakening of nature when birds begin their wedding dances, just like Chaucer described in his poem. Because people in the past believed that it was on February 14th that birds chose their partners, especially pigeons and doves, which are known for remaining in the same union for life. The ancient custom of sending anonymous letters to a loved one on St. Valentine's Day then also comes from the British Isles. For example, at the beginning of the 19th century, the post office in England delivered 60,000 Valentine's Day postcards. So maybe it's time we bring this back and send an old-fashioned Valentine's Day postcard to your loved one. Or don't forget to give some flowers to the women in your life. After all, it is all about honoring some old traditions. On the 17th of February, the Chinese New Year begins, and this time it will be under the sign of the fire horse. In traditional Chinese astrology, each year has its own unique quality. It is not just a symbol, but a certain type of energy that affects the pace of life, our emotions, decision-making, and how we feel in our own bodies. And the energy of the fire horse will definitely not be inconspicuous. What is the fire horse? The horse is a symbol of movement, freedom, courage, the desire to move forward. Fire adds to him passion, intensity, emotions, inner fire, and motivation. Together, the energy that is created is fast, lively, dynamic, and very transformative. The year of the fire horse can lead us to greater authenticity, a desire for change, and the need to live more fully. You may feel stronger impulses to change, restlessness if you remain stagnant for too long, a greater need for freedom, movement, and meaning. So get ready for a fiery, transformative year ahead. And that's it for today's episode. Before we meet again, don't forget to check out Cat Coach Diaries on Substack for more cat wisdom at moneyforce.substack.com. And if you're still up for some winter magic, tune to my Winter Evenings Magic Instrumental playlist on Spotify or the official Cat Coach Café playlist. Both links are in the show notes. If you would consider leaving a rating, a comment, or follow the Cat Coach Café podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen, we would be so very grateful, as that will allow us not only reach a wider audience, but also to continue doing what we do and bring you more podcast episodes in the future, and therefore more cat love. Until then, stay cozy, stay warm, and cuddle those cats of yours.